Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. You're watching another edition of the Small Business Show right here at ASBN.com. A survey from Citizens is revealing that young adults, that's right, young adults, still want to build wealth, but they're determined to do it differently. Here to share more insights from this survey is Mark Valentino, who is the head of business banking at Citizens. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on the show once again.
Jim, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So according to the survey, 67% of young adults are pursuing entrepreneurship. So that's pretty cool. That's a little bit different. Why do you think this generation is so drawn to starting a business?
Yeah, it's exciting times, but I would tell you, Jim, I think there's two sides to this coin. One is, on a positive note, is this kind of excitement around entrepreneurship. I think at least a quarter of those surveyed said they actually have a side hustle, even if they do work in more of a traditional job.
Okay.
And you're seeing that population actually grow.
Sure.
But the flip side, or the more pessimistic side of the coin, would suggest that these individuals don't actually see the same level of opportunity for themselves that perhaps the generation before them or even their parents had in terms of pursuing what you and I would call a more traditional career path.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of this anxiety about what the future holds. And there's a little bit of this excitement about possibly doing something more entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. But if you put the two together, it's kind of like, we don't think that we are going to have the same set of opportunities or that we're going to be able to make the same level of financial success doing what our parents did or doing what the generation before us did.
Sure.
And so we're actually going to redefine what we think success looks like. And it looks like having more flexibility in life, not pursuing monetary wealth to the same extent. So there's kind of a changing of what the goals are for this generation that's coming out of all this.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, shows like Shark Tank don't hurt this either. It's a very, very popular show. You see a lot of young people, young minds coming in with great ideas, and it's fun to watch. But there's also some big money being made here and being given to those young individuals that say, "Wow, I came up with a new idea for a doorbell, and it's got a video on it, and now it's the Ring doorbell, and so many others out there that it looks fun, right?"
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's more of a creativity side to pursuing this type of passion.
Right.
The interesting thing is, while I did state that they're not necessarily, and they're more anxious about kind of the economy right now, and they're not as excited about what might lie ahead in a traditional career, and that. But the other side of that is actually they're fairly ambitious. 60% of those surveyed said they'd actually like to sell their company or take it public someday, which is a pretty ambitious goal for someone who's trying to start a small business of one. There's this concept of solopreneurship is on the rise, where you kind of just, get on your laptop and start generating income like tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And the other exciting part is that the barriers to entry to creating your own company, you and I, right after this show, we could go do this in 5 or 10 minutes in terms of filing.
That's right.
The documents required online. So barrier to entry is very low.
Yeah.
There's the flexibility side to all of this. And to your point, there's a lot of ambition behind it. So while they might not see the opportunity that like their parents saw or the next generation above them saw from a traditional career path, they're not lacking ambition by any means.
Yeah, that's great, because the generation before them, which were the millennials that we heard so much about, that was one of the things that everybody said, oh, they're living in their parents' basement and they don't want to buy a car and they're not so big on buying a house and they're happy where they are. But it sounds like Generation Z is going, nope, move out of the way. We are all about this. I would also add that, this little machine right here, TikTok and social media, where you see all of these people making great money, some of them on TikTok, that are making literally thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a month, either selling products on there or reselling products. To your point, the barriers of entry have never been lower. In addition to that, we also saw through COVID, which was a very big time for people to have that side hustle, because now they're working from home. Maybe they have a little extra time, or maybe the boss isn't keeping an eye on them. So they got a little bit of time over here to go ahead and try that business from their house as well, right?
Yeah, you touched on a couple interesting things there. One is the time element, especially during COVID, created this kind of additional opportunity. Two is how someone can make income today is so wildly different than even 10 or 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
the emergence of kind of the side hustle or the gig economy probably started, call it 10, 15, 20 years ago. Then came along things like Uber. You can do Uber Eats and food delivery and all these part-time jobs that you kind of can do in between other jobs that
Yeah.
allow someone to provide for their family or make
That's
additional
right.
income. And now this concept of content creation. Social media
Yeah.
has really enabled that in the last 5 to 10 years. And
Yep.
so there's so many different quote unquote career paths that are non-traditional that someone can pursue. And then the other interesting component is in order to do this, you have to also be able to, be provided for or be able to provide for yourself. And so more than half of those surveyed did actually admit to the fact that they are getting some type of sustenance from family or parents in terms of maybe rent support or living at home or cell phone support or what
Yeah.
have you. And I only point that out because while there's kind of some nesting that's still going on with this next up and coming generation,
Yeah.
that is allowing them to have this opportunity to possibly pursue other paths,
Sure.
other non-traditional career paths. It's not like if you live at home, you don't need to go and get the job to support your rent immediately. You actually have the optionality to possibly create something.
That's right. That's right. Good point. And also with affordability out there, average, I mean, not the average price, but I mean with the average price of a new home, new cars are $50,000, and homes
Yep.
are $400,000. And I think people are just kind of, this generation's pumping the brakes a little bit and saying, wait a minute, instead of chasing that, got to get a home, got to own a home.
That's right.
Let's take a little wait and see on that, and let me start my business over here, which costs a heck of a lot less than the down payment on a $450,000 home. Only because my parents told me you got to go out and buy a home as soon as you can, right? Not the case.
The affordability factor is getting a little bit out of control, especially in kind of markets that are close to urban centers.
Yeah.
And that is, part of the negative side of the coin that we touched on earlier. That is part of the anxiety that this generation is having, is that a lot of these kind of life goal things that prior generations had set that you must do, they're seemingly falling out of reach for many Americans.
Right.
And I think we do need to pay attention to that trend. So as exciting as this kind of entrepreneurial spirit is, there's an other side of this coin, which is that a lot of things in America are getting less affordable for this generation and for most Americans, in fact. And then the last thing I'd point out about kind of the survey that I find really interesting is how it applies to larger corporations. Citizens is a Fortune 500 company, top 10 bank in America. And we think about it all the time. How do we attract the next generation of talent that we are going to need as baby boomers retire out of industries?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it comes down to, if you look at the survey results, they want flexibility. They want to be working on things that they find to be meaningful. And I think that's really important, is the meaning behind something.
Yes, definitely.
And how do we build a culture as employers that allow for that with this next generation, I think is going to be critical.
I agree. There's people want to go to work for companies that have got a cause, and if they're going to become an entrepreneur, they also want to put some kind of an element in there to say, am I giving back? Is my new company doing good?
That's right.
The way we see a Tom's shoes, you buy a pair, they give a pair away, or Bombas
That's
stocks,
right.
They sell a pair and they give a pair away, and that's become very, very popular over the last 5 or 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, you're the money guy. You got all that green behind you with Citizens. Is it available to entrepreneurs? Are you guys giving loans to young entrepreneurs right now? And what recommendations do you have for somebody that says, hey, I just need maybe 10 grand. I need 20 grand, 25,000 to get myself off the ground here.
Absolutely. We serve in our business banking unit, we serve customers from $0 today, startups, all the way up to $50 million in revenue. And then as companies grow beyond that, we introduce them to our wonderful commercial bank. I can tell you that within even our private bank, we actually have a team that focuses on just more tech-oriented VC types of startups, and they help young companies work inside that VC ecosystem. You held up your cell phone earlier. We're actually trying to build a lot more banking services for this generation that are mobile available, including all of our business banking services, because we know, myself included, I like to use my phone now for my banking as opposed to these old computers that we have. And I would say likewise, we do actually, we have a very robust SBA platform for those of us that are pursuing small business loans, we can actually assist through the SBA process as well, which is a wonderful way for a young company to get their first loan to grow their company. So there's a lot of different things we can do for early stage companies, for solopreneurs, and we're trying to make it all very digitally enabled for them on the mobile.
That's great. So whether they start out with an SBA loan and then graduate into a full line of credit with your bank and then become more successful, you have got something at every plateau there.
Absolutely. We have many customers that have been with us for 20 or 30 years that started in small business and worked their way, and now they're large middle market companies doing acquisitions or looking to sell. And so I think the American dream is very much alive, and Citizens is part of it, serving that dream.
That's right. And I'll ask you, because I know from your perspective, you're looking at a lot of different businesses and people that are applying and jumping out there. With all that we see out there, some of the craziness coming out of Washington, D.C. right now, obviously we just came off of a 40-plus day shutdown, which made a lot of people nervous. We're seeing tariffs out there. We're seeing affordability still playing a major role out there. Is now still a good time to start a business from your perspective?
You know, I would tell you this, some of the best businesses that we can possibly think of were actually started during crisis situations, during recessions. And so I don't personally believe there's ever a bad time to start a business. And to kind of keep this economy that we have in America, I think it's the most unique economy in the world because it is an economy that's based on entrepreneurship. And I'm really excited that young Americans are excited about that. And I think it's a great time to start a business. In fact, I think all the challenges that you just pointed out are actually going to cause more people to start businesses right now because there are layoffs occurring across large corporate America. I think AI, while it could be a threat to some jobs, AI is going to be an amazing enabler for small business owners to accelerate their growth because they're going to multiply their creativity in ways that they could not do with just one person before. And so while there's going to be some disruption, and I think the economy has certainly shown certain cracks, and obviously the tariff situation has had some challenges as well. You know, the government being shut down hurt some small businesses. The SBA was closed during this time period. We couldn't process new loans. So that certainly hurt some folks. But with all of that said, I think those challenges in America typically present opportunities, and that's where entrepreneurs usually really jump at the opportunity and the crisis and really rise to the occasion.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. And just for the record, now that has been cleared up, the shutdown, they're open for business now, and I'm sure the SBA money is now flowing, right?
It is. The processes are back up and running. We're accepting new applications and processing those today even.
Wow, that's great. You hear that, folks? You can call Mark directly and go get your $100,000 to start your
you can put my 1-800 number down below.
That's right. No, we put your cell number on there. Is that okay?
Perfect. Even better.
They'll be calling you all hours of the night. I need my money, Mark. Mark Valentino, head of business banking at Citizens. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here at ASBN. Very much appreciated. All good news, and it's great to hear that these young people want to become entrepreneurs. It is just awesome, and the opportunity is endless, folks. So jump in. And I agree with Mark. There's so many companies out there that started during a recession. Starbucks and Walmart are just two of them. And look at those companies today. Started at a very, very difficult time in the economy. So Mark, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Jim, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.